Hey y'all, welcome to the Sage Intacct 2025 Release 2 highlights. We will cover some new features and changes in the release notes. To find those from your home screen, we're going to read the release notes here. You'll notice that the release for this is May 9th. And here we have the list of any changes that they're going to be making. You can click into anything in green to view more details. You can also navigate using the sidebar here to dive into specific changes. We also have the release calendar for our next 2 releases coming up this year. Please remember that when releases come out, you need to go into your admin settings for the company and update your admin role to have permissions for any changes. So you go to subscriptions, view your permissions, make sure all your boxes are checked, and hit save. So let's get into these new changes. So in release 2, we have a couple changes to importing bank and credit card transactions for reconciliation. First and foremost, the classic import where you go to the reconciliation screen and click import is going away. Not immediately, but by this time next year, May 2026, this feature will be gone. This is because they're trying to keep everything in one place, especially now that you can use the new import feature for credit card transactions as well. To do so, we go to Cash Management, Bank Transaction Import Files. Let's go ahead and add one for our credit card. You select the bank or credit card account you want, click Continue. In here, it lists that you can import with any of these types of files. We have both 3 and 4 column CSV or Excels, and then any sort of file you might get from your bank is also supported. And you can learn more about each one of these here in this section. So let's go ahead and import some credit card transactions that I got from my bank. All right, and we'll review transactions. So it's going to ask you how your date is ordered. I have month, day, year. Then it looks like the positive numbers, they're saying it's money in, but it's actually the opposite. So you can go ahead and swap these transactions around, switch them up. Now it's all flipped around, so my charges are charges, and my payment is a payment. And we can confirm the import once we're happy with all of our transactions from the import. It may take a few minutes after the import is complete. Here, loading still, so I will check back with you when it's done. Okay, and we're back. It looks like our 21 transactions imported correctly. Let's go and see if any of them matched. So now you'll see that there is a bank tab here. Here's all of our unmatched transactions that we imported. You can see if any of them matched. Apply the filter. Looks like we did. We had this one for Kurt and this one for Reed. These both matched because we already had these transactions in our system. But you can also find these transactions under cash management bank transactions to see here are the 21 credit card 001 transactions we imported. You can see that they are matched and unmatched. You can view them from here, just like you would bank transactions you imported. But let's go check out these matched transactions. Which leads me into our next point from the release is you can now reclassify the GL account for credit card transactions that have been paid or partially paid. Let's go into this team refreshments and edit it, and then hit reclassify. And now we can change this GL account here and save it. But that's it for importing credit card transactions and reclassifying them after they've been paid.
All right, so another update as of the 2025 release 2 is the way that we add approval users to the bill approval policy. Previously, this included rule types and users with bill approval permissions, and now it only contains rule types. What this feature does is it removes clutter and it will enhance the workflow by reducing approval delays. Let's get into the accounts payable module setup and configuration. We're going to scroll down to bill approval settings and enable the bill approval feature. Go to manage, and we will add our rule type, which will be on the user level and the employee that's going to be approving the bills. If you don't see them in this list, it's because you need to update their permissions. And if you've had users that were set up to approve bills, Sage will automatically update them to the user level. We'll save again. And that's how you're going to now add approval users to the bill policy.
For Release 2 2025, there are some nice new updates to the compliance section. So finally, we can use smart rules and smart events with compliance, which we've been waiting for a while. So if I go to my applications dropdown, click into platform services, and I go to add a rule, for instance, I can extend object and scroll down here and see that compliance record is finally able to be extended for smart rules and smart events. So just for the purposes of this video, I am going to create a rule that says if I don't have an expiration date on my compliance record, I want to get an error. So compliance record is the object I want to extend. And then in my next step, I'm going to say I want an error. And then I'm going to want that error whether I'm creating a new or editing a record. So for my condition, then I'm going to choose field lookup over here. And I'm going to base this off of expiration date, but obviously you can use whatever field you want. If there are fields that you require, you can find them in here and use that instead. So I'm going to choose expiration date, say okay, and I'm going to do if expiration date is not blank, then I want an error to pop up, and I want the error to say enter expiration date. And in my next step, I just have to give it an ID. So I'm going to say VCEXP, and I'm going to save that. So now if I go to my purchasing module, which is where my compliance records live, and I try to edit an existing record that I have for auto insurance, and I put in, let's say, my amount here, and I'm not going to put in my expiration date, and I'm going to try and save that, it's going to give me an error to say smart rule was violated, please enter expiration date. So I'm going to go back then, I'm going to put in expiration date of May 31st and save that, and that'll save. So nice welcome addition is the ability to use smart events and smart rules with your compliance records. And I set up that rule. I didn't base it off of a particular record, but if you're using insurance and lien waivers and miscellaneous categories within the system, you will want to specify that for sure. We just did something really simple for this video because this is more about the release, but we will have some videos coming out in the near future with some smart rules and smart events that you can use with compliance. So another new enhancement as of R2 is the ability to use secondary lien waivers. So in purchasing, if I go to a subcontract, I have one created in the system here with a secondary vendor. So I have a tab here for my secondary vendors. I put in ABC Contracting as my secondary vendor. Joint PE then defaults in as Ace Drywall and ABC Contracting. And I want to generate additional lien waivers for my secondary vendor. So I have that checked off, and I decided that I'm going to generate for joint check payments only. You can choose to generate for all payments, but that's going to generate quite a lot of records for you. So just be careful with that, or you can do not generate. So save that in the system, created my invoice, which pushed over to AP. And if I edit on that, then I can see my joint payee tab. I do have joint checks enabled in this system. So I had ABC Contracting in here, and then I want my joint payee print as to be Ace Drywall and ABC Contracting. So in purchasing, on the setup tab, you have your compliance types. So for my lien waiver compliance type that's associated with my lien waiver compliance definition, I can edit on that, and we also now have the ability to put in a separate template for our secondary vendors. So I'm just going to use my regular template for my usual vendor, and then for my secondary vendor, I have uploaded a different template that looks slightly different with different wording in it. I mean, you don't have to do that, but you can choose to now. You have the ability to do that. So once you've gone into Platform Services Printed Document Templates and created that template as a compliance template, you'll be able to see it in your drop-down list here and save it. So I created that joint check payment for my invoice from that subcontract. And now 2 compliance records have generated in the system for that $25,000 payment. So if I view this first record, I'll see that it has the secondary vendor name as ABC Contracting, and it's automatically marked off as a secondary vendor. So that's using my template for the secondary vendor lien waiver. So another nice feature as of R2 is the ability to send out those secondary vendor lien waivers. That's it from me, but stay tuned for the rest of the release.
So another cool update that Sage has released involves project change orders. Previously, as you know, when you're drafting or posting a project change order, once you saved that, you were closed out and you had to go back into the list and reopen that change order. Now, when you create a project change order, you have the option to select post and continue or draft and continue. So this allows you to stay in the document and continue working without interruption. I'm going to give you an example of the old way. So under projects, if you go to change requests, add a change order, you still see that the only options are to draft and post. If you want to continue working, you would be taken back to this list and have to get in that way. But now with project change orders, we have this new feature where if you go to add, type in the information about the project, I can now, let's say that I need some more information from a project manager or an owner. I can now draft and continue. It'll keep me in this. I can make the calls I need and get that information to add it. I think this is a pretty cool feature. I think it's going to allow less interruptions in workflow, and it's going to definitely reduce the clicks and save you time when posting project change orders. Another powerful feature that Sage has released in the 2025 release 2 is a primary document details tab in purchasing. This is a brand new tab, and it offers a centralized view of all purchase order documents and invoice related documents. Let's check this out. We're going to go to purchasing, order, purchase orders. Let's view one of them. And we'll head to the Primary Document Details tab. You might see that it's blank. That's because you need to refresh all the data if the PO or, let's say, a subcontract was entered before the release. Now I can see the original amount of my PO, any change orders, what has been invoiced so far or paid, any retainage that has been released. I can see primary documents, any account payable bills, retainage release bills, as well as payments made. Another cool feature is you can also export this to CSV. Let's head to our subcontracts tab. View a subcontract here. Head to the primary document details. And I've already refreshed this, so everything came through. And the same concept here. Primary documents, AP, retainage, AP payments. What is also great about this is you can select the link and you can drill in for more information. Totals automatically will update once an invoice is posted to accounts payable or when a new change order is added. Just make sure you refresh all the data. This enhancement is going to streamline the purchase workflow and provide all the necessary information at the touch of your fingertips. The next enhancement I'd like to introduce from the 2025 Release 2 is a smarter way to manage time and material billing. Now you can directly map project costs to specific contract lines, ensuring accurate and efficient billing. By aligning the tasks with contract lines, you reduce errors, streamline invoicing, and provide greater transparency to your clients. Let's check this out. From the Applications tab, we'll head down to Projects, select Project Contracts. I'm going to go in through Edit to the project that I'd like to duplicate. Head down to the project contract lines and select the line ID item. Go to Cost Codes and confirm that these are the cost codes you'd like to duplicate. Once done, close out. On the top right, select Duplicate and retain cost code mapping for time and material project contract lines. Duplicate, and now we can enter our new project information. Select the project. Select your customer. Enter your contract date. And head down to the project contract lines to confirm that the map tasks were duplicated. Go to Cost Codes. They were duplicated correctly. So now I can save my project. This enhancement improves efficiency and accuracy in your billing workflows. Go check it out.
Hey y'all. In R2, they've made a small change that you'll probably notice right away. Instead of time and expenses being one module, they've broken it out into two, time and expenses. They each have their own setup and configuration, so make sure you've got your permissions set so you can see them both. Hey y'all. This release, Sage Intacct is rolling out a new import feature. Let's test it out. It's only available right now in Company, Import Data, and here at the top, New Import Service. At the moment, the import only works with vendors, customers, classes, departments, locations, chart of accounts, statistical accounts, and fixed assets. So let's go ahead and import a couple new accounts to the general ledger. You have the option to create or update, and they also give you a template here that you can download. But with this new feature, you really don't need a template. Let me show you why. So we'll click Create, and I will drag in my GL accounts file, and it's going to show you up here how long it's taking. And here now it's going to have me map the fields from my Excel. So I've got a field called account number. I wanted to go to account number, title to title, normal balance is normal balance, etc. Hit continue. And then the values I have on my Excel here, we're matching up to the values here in Intacct. And once it's validated all that information, it's going to bring it in and it's going to check for errors. Okay, so anywhere that's red, it says there's 8 invalid cells, and you can hover over each one until it'll tell you why. So in my import, I included a couple lines of accounts that are already in the system. It says this one already exists, so I'm going to go ahead and click on this row and delete it. And then here it says we need account types. So if you double click, you can choose income statement or balance sheet. All these are income statements because they're just a bunch of different insurances. And you can obviously like tab through here, but there's a lot of lines, so I would just suggest double clicking. And then in my Excel, I dragged this down and copied it, and it copied in a sequence instead of copying the number. So we'll go ahead and edit the number. And once you've got all of the invalid cells done, we'll go ahead and revalidate just to make sure that it's not going to catch any more errors. So here we've got another one that already existed. I didn't catch that the first time, but it caught it the second time. That's why we revalidate after we check all of our cells. I'll delete this one. And I'm going to revalidate one last time. And it looks like all of our stuff is valid. I'm going to hit import. You can also download this as a sheet if you want to save it for any future needs. You can do that here. But let's go ahead and download. Oh, shoot. Sorry. Just because I wanted to save that. And then import. And this is going to put it into Intacct. Says they were not imported. Why? Okay. So it's saying that our account links are invalid. They're expecting a length of 5. So let's go ahead and put a 0 at the end of all this. And let's revalidate one more time. And now let's import. All right. Results. They imported all 6. And we can close out and we can go check what is now imported in our general ledger accounts. So if we look for insurance, here are the accounts we just imported. So, new feature, lots of hope for it. Have fun checking it out.
The last update I'm going to leave you with today from the 2025 R2 update is the powerful new upgrade to time and material invoicing. Now you can manage double the expense lines up to 4,000 per transaction type, which is perfect for complex T&M billing. Let's go to our Projects tab to check this out. We'll generate an invoice. Select your project contract, as well as your bill through date, and head to the Display Options tab to see this update. Previously, it was 2,000, and now we can go up to 4,000. So that's a nice upgrade for bigger projects. We do recommend that the max rows you select are in line with your project and the actual number of expenses that you need to calculate. Once you go to Generate Invoices, we'll head down After all the expenses are updated, you must select the Update Totals button before invoicing. This step is now required, and you can't create an invoice until the totals are manually updated, which gives you a little bit more control. Once the totals are updated, you can override them or specify retainage in the summary grid before finalizing your invoice and sending to the customer. This upgrade allows more control, better performance, and less guesswork on your T&M billing, and it's now live in Sage Intacct. You should go give it a try. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have any videos you'd like to see us make, please reach out. That's going to be it, folks.